Professor Richter, can you please tell me where to put this solution? Where should I write it down? Yes, I will show you now a case solution template. You will find this case solution template on the database of the university on HTW Dresden, Opal, and there you can see here's the course method part, and here under the third folder is the case solution template, Falllösungsvorlage, and I already uploaded it, and here is it, the case solution template. And yeah, let's get started here. So this is a template not only for the exam, it's also for the whole semester. That means you should get used to it, that you always write down your solutions down into this, in one of these templates. So some of the students, they use this also every week. So every week when we go through the chapters, we always, you should always try to make your own template, right? To each chapter, you have your own template because it's always a little bit similar. If we talk about international contract law, you should have a template, a case solution template for international contract law cases. Or if we talk about international marketing law, then please have a template for this international marketing law, right? Okay, so that means you will always have 8 questions. This is very important. You will have these 8 questions in your exam and also to all the solution, to all the case studies we will talk to. And we have 2 parts. The first part is a little bit more theoretical. So you have to answer the following questions and you will get a case. So in the exam, you will get a case from Opal, and during the semester, you will always have some cases in the chapter we are talking about. So the first question is always, and it refers to the Richter scheme, to the Richterschema. So there's the 7, what is this? 7 fingers, to the 7 questions you have on Richter scheme, you will get 8 questions. So it's always, right? It has a connection to each other. So the first question you will always get from me is that you should create a case sketch. And the second one is about terms. The third one is about types of regulations. The fourth is about rights and obligation of the involved persons, the authorities, the courts. The fifth one is the number facts, for example, deadlines, dates, cost in the case. And the sixth question is about an instruction manual. So you should describe the steps you would solve this case and how to, and you can use checklists and schemes and overviews. And then we have the second part, is this more a practical part? It's a practical implementation. So how would you implement these findings into your real life? And here we have 2 questions. The first one is that you should translate the results you found in 1 till 6. You should translate them into, or bring them into effect into 2 concrete formulations. And this is from one perspective, for example, from the defendant. And then you should go on the other side and change the above 2 wordings, formulations, so as to favor the interests of parties other than those chosen in number 7. So if you have in the first one, for example, I'll show you this, one of the plaintiffs, so you're from the perspective of the plaintiffs in question number 7, then I want you to write it the exact from the opposite, from the perspective of the defendant. Good, so these are the 8 questions, and you will get always 10 points in the first 6 questions. So I want you to give me always 10 parts, 10 terms, 10 regulations, 10 participants, okay? And in the part number 7 and 8, these questions, you will get always 20 points for each question. Okay, so the first question is always about a case sketch. Please tell me, and this is very important later also in real life, that you are able to explain to a lawyer or to somebody else who wants from whom, what, and for what reasons or circumstances, according to the facts of the case. So this is very important, and I'll give you here always a little bit a scheme. So on the left side, you should say who wants something. Most of the case, there's a plaintiff, and on the other side, by whom. So from the defendant, for example, and you can see the columns. Here are 3 columns, and you can write down everything that refers all the facts about the plaintiffs. You write down here, and all the facts of the defendant and what he wants and so on, and what he says, write down here, and fact information who are relevant to both sides, who are neutral, you can put them here in the middle. Good. So I give you always points that you find the right plaintiff, 1 point for the right defendant. Then please write down the most important facts here for the plaintiff and for the defendant. These are 4 more points. And I want you please to write down the goals, maybe some other participants and the courts, but you will get only six points on this part. And because I wrote it down here, at perfect correct answer, you get 1 point, but at least I need the 4W question. Who, here are the 4W, who wants from whom, what, and what for what reasons, right? These are the 4W, and at least I want you to give me this 4V question and 4 comments in the recommendation for action or checklist. That means you will get here 1 point for the right W question, for V question, and 1 point for the action or checklist. And so we have 8 points for the other things, right? For the plaintiffs and defendants details. Good. So this is very important. This is the first part. The second part is about the terms. Which terms are legally or economically or technically important for the solution of the problems you mentioned. So, and I always want you to give me a definition. And so definition is neutral. It doesn't have anything to do with the case. But then the second part is I want you to give me an explanation why there's a case reference and a legal consequence. And this gives you always, if you do this, complete 1 point, and I need 10 terms. And you start always with the general terms. For example, you first give me the goal. They want damages, or they want something back, or right, something what they want, so the goal. And then the second term is most of the time the part of the law, international contract law, international production law, and so on. Another thing is, so from the general terms to the more detailed terms. And the next thing is, we have a special judicial system. First, give me always the definition, then the reference, the case-related reference, and what's next, what is the consequence, what is the next part, the next step. And the students who work very good on this, they have always an order from general to more detail. And here in the legal consequence, there's always a cliffhanger to the next term. So they say, we have to find out, for example, if this first is they want damages, so they want money back, and this gives so they have to prove the rules of the international contract law. Okay, and the next time is then which kind of contract do we have? Okay, we have a contract who is about buying, right, and so on. So this is very important that they always have a cliffhanger. So this leads you from one to the next one, right? Okay, so maybe if you have a sales contract, then the next thing is you have to find out if this sales contract is, if the conclusion is correct, or if there's some mistakes and so on. In the next question, you should answer me, Professor Richter, where can I find regulation about this? Where is it written down? So what types of regulation may be relevant to the solution of the case, and with what content? So I need, please give me the type of regulation, what's in there, and what is a case reference, and then the legal consequence. So for example, if there's a contract paragraph, please tell me it's a paragraph or regulation in the German civil law, and it says you have to fulfill the contract. And in this case, there is a contract, they bought a car, and the legal consequence is that the seller has to give him a car without any defects, right? Okay, so I want you please to give me 10 regulations and tell me always which kind of regulation, which type they are. We have international contracts, we have national provisions, and so on. And sometimes we have some rules, general rules or customs, right? The fourth question is about the participants, so the persons. They are very important in all the cases, and I want you please to bring all the persons, the authorities and courts together here, write them down, and tell me what rights and what obligations do they have exactly for this case. So what rights and obligations they have in general. So give me a definition of, for example, a court, and then tell me, yes, they have the opportunity, the possibility to sue you, right? And tell you, okay, you have to pay this and that. Okay, so give me over the case relation, and then tell me the legal consequences. So maybe, for example, a buyer, for example, is also a person. A buyer, he has the right, he has to sell, he has to pay, and he has the right that he will get some, so the thing without any defects. And the seller, he has the right to get the money and has to deliver some products without any defects. Good, so always in this and always in this order. Let's go to the next question. This is everything about numbers, number factors. So we have some numbers that have some temporal consequence and some financial consequences. So deadlines, for example, what are the numbers? When was the contract made, and when was the conclusion, and when did they find out, oh, there's a defect, and so on. And what are the costs? These are also the financial things. So please tell me, I would always start with a chronological order. What happened first, and then second, and then third, and what are the costs, and what are the consequences, the financial consequences. So we have always a case relation, we have a temporal or financial consequence, and we have always the definition. So give me a definition about the deadline or the date or the cost. Very important in the case study is always that you show to the other person and to me what is the way you would recommend me if I have one of these cases, not only this case, also other similar cases. What is a systematic instruction manual for the case? You can use checklists, you can use examination schemes and overviews, right? And then you have to justify the recommendation. If you recommend something for me, and step by step go through this case and explain me and use all the facts and the terms and regulation you found out in the template from question number 1 till 5, right? And the parties and involved, and present them, and per correct solution step with description, with case reference. And here is the call to action. So Handlungsempfehlung, you will always get 1 point. Okay, this is all the theoretical background of a case. In the part 2, I want you please to translate all the results you found in the case. I want you to give me 2 concrete formulations. This formulation, this can be the argumentation in the complaint, for example, of the buyer. If the buyer is not satisfied, he said there are defects in this product, he will sue you, and in this complaint he will explain you this defect and this is defect, and I want you to give me back the money or to repair it. Or you can also have models of forms, or you give me a contract. You can make a formulation in a contract. But it's very important. You have to explain me, and with regulations, at least 2 regulations, which party benefits from your wording, right? So if you write it from the perspective of a buyer, tell me, why is it so positive for the buyer? But, okay, you can see here, for the benefit of the following part, for example, the buyer, I would say this product has defects and you have to give me back money. And here are the regulation who helps me. And here are the justifications. Why is this formulation so good? It gives the benefit to you, to this party. And I want you, please give me 2 formulations. And then question number 8, you should turn the perspective and say, okay, now change the above 2 wording. So the 2 sentences you wrote down in favor now of the interests of the parties other than those chosen in number 7. So if you have chosen in number 7 the buyer, you should now go on the other side to the seller and say, no, there's no defect. This is just because you used it in the wrong way, right? And justify, please, why there are advantages for the other party, the same system like in number 7, and give me the regulations, and you should correctly explain the wording, and this will give you with 2 provisions and 4 justifications. That means if you get 10 points, you will get 2 for each regulation and 4 for justifications, and at least 4 points for a proper formulation. Good. This is the template. This is the case solution template, and in one of the next videos, I will show you then a template. So one of the mock exam. Thank you very much. Stay in contact and watch the next video.